That's not even real. This is a simulation. This whole thing is a simulation. Not bad, not bad, not bad. What are the ages of them in this? Because I want to get into a little bit of a technical thing here. I'm assuming she's anywhere from 13 to 15 with the Les Paul. Correct me on that in the comments. Y'all been great about that. The Warning Army, by the way. Thank you for piling in. Thank you for embracing me. Continue to like and subscribe and comment. I love it. I'm learning a lot more about you, but also a lot more about them. But correct me on kind of the age, but 13 to 15, that's around when I started playing guitar back in the 90s. Now, here's the thing. I played Gibson. I played an SG, but I first picked up a Les Paul. And I moved off of the Les Paul because of the thickness of the neck. The SG had a thinner neck. I could play faster. I could do different things. I liked to play all sorts of fun technical stuff, you know, behind my head with my teeth. I was having fun with it. Because there was two camps of guitar players, two main camps of guitar players when I first started playing. And there was the Kumbaya guy who could play C, G, D, and then every once in a while A minor when he wanted to be sad and brooding. And then there was riff rock, lead guitar guy or person. And with that, you for one, this was one of the riffs you had to know. You had to know this riff. But I was in the camp of the riff rock, the lead guitar person, and you know, knowing the technical aspect of the difference between the neck on a Les Paul and an SG is intriguing to me, because you know, her hands are undoubtedly going to be smaller than even mine were at that age, and I struggled with a Les Paul neck. So to see her doing this with a Les Paul, I'm like, okay, this is interesting to me. I want to see where this goes. And also I want to talk a little bit about this song specifically, because there's a lot of interesting context to this song. But the first thing that stands out to me is a 13 to 15-year-old playing a Les Paul. It's a thicker neck than the SG, and a, you know, Strat, which is what a lot of other people played. So. right, we'll pause right there before she breaks into that. So, yeah, I mean, the thing with this song is the riff itself, not the most technical thing you will ever play in your guitar life. But this song has little moments in it that aren't for the beginner, like the skipping and the time signature, how they kind of they do a little bit of a change up there. Your basic musicians are going to struggle with that. Kumbaya guy ain't gonna play that, right? But also another thing I want to touch on is, yes, there was two major camps for like the garage band people back then. It was the Kumbaya guy, the riff guy. But in the riff guy camp where I was at, there was a division two of the ones who could do it and just play lead guitar and be an accent piece and be really good for a band, which is the camp I was in. And then the other camp was the ones that could do that plus sing while doing it. And I was not in that camp. I couldn't really sing necessarily while doing some of the stuff I was doing. Of course, I was playing guitar with my teeth. You don't really, but, but even then, even if I wasn't doing that, not necessarily a thing that I was very good at. I wasn't good at it. It's not that easy either, and she makes it look really easy. I'm still blown away that she's doing it with a Les Paul. I know that some of y'all are just going like, well, it's just a guitar. It's not. The Les Paul is also heavier than the SG. We were playing long concerts, and a Les Paul can kind of get to you after a bit, and then that thicker neck just really drove me nuts. Wasn't comfortable with it. So her doing it with this is that's beyond normal. But also, could you play this riff? Sure. Could you get a whole band to do this? A lot of people tried. A lot of people tried to do it. I don't think they were as smooth as this. I don't think they were as technically sound as this. This is definitely going to be one of those bands, if they were to play now and like you had them come play, they're going to be better than your average garage band. So if this was a launch pad point for them, which I've seen, I'm going to go through and do some of their videos. It looks like they have some that were even older than this. And this isn't necessarily their starting point, but this is a launch pad point for them from just kind of scrolling through, looking to see which video I wanted to do. If this is a launch pad for them, this is most people's ceiling. Right? This is most people's ceiling in music. Like, they could hope to get here. They could hope to play this good. And they're like they're like 10, 13 and 15 probably. And most people could just hope to get to this point. They're going to work, and then at 30 years old, maybe they're this good. And this is their launch pad point. So I'm so glad I started at other songs, and now I come back to this, and I can see, oh, okay. So their launch pad is better than most people's pinnacle. Makes sense. Nah, that's too perfect. That's just too perfect. That's not even fair that they have the perfect ability to do that. Like, they had the cast of characters. You'd have to call somebody in if you were a band. There. That's not even fair. No, but the solo, right? Look, was it 1-to-1 like the original? Not 100%, but you go do it, right? You go do it. That was good. That was exceptional. Again, coming back to the fact that she's doing that with a Les Paul, if you play guitar, you know that the Les Paul neck is thicker than a lot of other guitars. And she's doing that. So I'm impressed. She did a great job. That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Um, you're not going to get this from a lot of people at the ceiling of their career, and this is their launch pad, and then they come in with the little bedtime prayer, and it's just, I remember the song from back then. And yeah, I mean, you had to call in and you had to get a casting call and get some kid to come in and do the voice. Well, that just no, we'll just use our bass player. Let's use our bass player. They're fun. They are fun. It's a little pose at the end, which is just like, are we done now? Yeah, okay. Good Lord, they're too perfect. They are just too perfect. That's not fair. That's not even real. This is a simulation. This whole thing is a simulation. None of this is real. You're not real. I'm not. This is not. No, but it's wild. They're just perfect. To know that this is where they essentially have a launch pad point, is it makes complete sense now when I look at the couple songs that I've done from them. Like, okay, yeah, yeah, they started at a point that many of us only hoped to get to, um, and I can appreciate them more now. I'm kind of glad I did it this way. I'm sure a lot of y'all from the Warning Army maybe grew up with them in this and then transitioned with them, and that was probably a really cool journey for you. I'm kind of doing it a little bit different, and I'm kind of glad I did it this way because I heard them and I was like, where did this come from? And now I see it. I'm like, oh, because at the starting blocks they were already Olympic athletes, or at least Olympic hopefuls. Did they have a couple missteps in that song? Sure, absolutely, tiny. But I challenge you to go do that song perfect. Especially if you're, 10, 13, and 15 years old. I guarantee that wasn't happening when I was younger. There was probably a couple bands that could do it, but, uh, probably not that age. School talent show? No way. No way. So much dead space with bands at that age. So much dead. If you don't know what dead space is, just go listen to a local band on a Friday night and you can just hear dead space. You can just hear that the room isn't full. Even if the crowd was cheering, you could hear that the room isn't full. And they fill space even from an early age. And I can appreciate that. Now, this song is an interesting choice. The reason why I clicked on this was because I was going through, I wanted to do another song from The Warning, and I scrolled up a little bit. I was like, oh, wow, they have a lot of songs. I saw the ones when they were even younger than this. And I was like, well, okay, let's not do those yet. But I was just kind of just trying to pick. I saw Enter Sandman, and I was like, what? What? Interesting song. So I'm an author. I haven't necessarily, some of y'all that are new to my channel, I'm an author. I was 13 years as a crisis counselor. I had horrific trauma early in my life. Grew up in music, was a musician in the 90s, and then left for the Marine Corps. And then in the Marine Corps, I lost 18 of my friends, and then I would continue to lose friends afterwards to unaliving themselves. We had a lot of that. And then I too did that. I was found, I don't want to get banned on YouTube, but I was found in my garage without my feet on the floor. Okay, so do the math. That's how that worked. Thankfully, on time, I was found, and went through a lot of mental and physical recovery with a lot of that. And in that time, I learned a lot and learned about the mind and how it works and whatnot. I ended up writing a book about it, and not necessarily just that experience. I wrote a book about what would follow, and what would follow would be some time in learning, some time in school. I worked with some researchers, some scientists, psychologists, counselors, you name it, learning about the human mind. And I would go on to write a book about it, and then ended up becoming a crisis counselor for 13 years, where I would go into the room and work with people who were going to do what I did. So it was a cool little 180, right? Of one time on the noose, now keeping them from it. And I was, wildly successful with it, around 2000. And only 6 of them were not successful in those crisis calls. And I would go on to write this book, and then would go on these speaking tours, and I speak at universities and keynotes and groups and organizations all the time. And one of the things I talk about is alienation, and self-concept and self-schema. And I talk about Metallica when I do that. And this is the song that I talk about. Because if you know anything about Metallica, you know that when this song came out, the Metallica fans were not happy, because this was not their style at the time. They were more of a, what would you call them, like thrash metal? Like they were selling out concerts worldwide, stadiums, with a different style, a harder, faster, heavier, ride the lightning style. And then they come out with this, and a lot of their fans called them sellouts with this song, because it was attached to a movie, Terminator, and the soundtrack. And so this song is intriguing, and the reason why I picked it is because it gives me a chance to talk about, what I'm really passionate about. Was I in music in the 90s? Yes. I love it. I love talking about it. Now, I did get out of music for many years. Like I said, that horrific trauma. I was very immature emotionally when I left the Marine Corps, and one of the things that I was bad at was managing my emotions when it came to music, movies, news, TV, you name it. And so I had to withdraw from a lot of that stuff to try to save my life. So I actually stayed out of music for a very long time, listened to audiobooks, meditation hums, and frequencies, and that was about it. And, so to come back to music now, I hear some of these things, like these newer groups. I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal what people are doing now. But one of these newer groups is playing something that I remember from back when I was in music, and it's really cool to hear that synergy and hear them do it. They're phenomenal. Their floor is everybody else's ceiling, and this is why they could have stayed at this level and probably been moderately successful on like the bar scene if they never progressed from this point. But they did progress, and I've heard it, and I can appreciate it, and I'm gonna love this journey, learning more about them and seeing them progress as musicians now. And thank you for bringing this to me. Thank you for welcoming me in. I hope that I honor their craft. I hope that I do them justice, and while I review their videos and react to their videos, I think it's gonna be great. It's great to see this old stuff. I was getting a kick out of them in sandals, and then their little, okay, we're done. It's wild. They're phenomenal. I love it. what's next? What's next? You know, like, subscribe, continue to comment. You know, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you're at a stoplight and there's somebody over there with their window down, tell them to come check out my channel. They're probably gonna look at you weird, probably tell you no, and that's okay.